You're asleep, completely still, breathing slow, no idea what's around you. You are, in every real sense, helpless. Now picture this isn't your bedroom, it's the open wilderness. Nothing between you and animals that could kill you without trying. Wolves that can hear movement from hundreds of yards away. Bears that can smell food through sealed bags. Predators that move in total silence and see perfectly in the dark while you lie there completely unaware. And yet you wake up every time. Why? Seriously, think about this for a second. A sleeping human is just a body, quiet, motionless, can't fight, can't run, can't even tell what's happening until it's too late. You'd think predators would treat campsites like an open buffet. They don't. They almost never do. And the reason isn't one simple thing. It's never just one thing. There are several layered explanations, each one stranger than the last. And together, they reveal something most people never think about. An invisible truce between humans and the wild. One that's been holding long before civilization even started. Let's get into it. Start with something that sounds almost arrogant to say out loud, but it's true. You are something to be feared. Not you personally. You specifically are probably not intimidating to anyone, but humans as a species carry a kind of evolutionary reputation that most of us are completely unaware of. We don't have sharp claws. We're slow compared to almost every predator on land. We can't see in the dark. By any physical measurement, we're a weak animal. And yet researchers have recorded something that doesn't match that weakness at all. In studies done in mountain lion territory in California, scientists played recordings of ordinary human conversation near the animals and observed their reaction. The mountain lions ran, not occasionally, consistently, and at rates comparable to how they react to actual threats like dogs barking nearby. Some of these same animals had freshly killed prey nearby when they heard the recording, and they left it behind without finishing the meal. That's an enormous decision for a wild predator to make. Walking away from a kill means losing the calories it took to make that kill in the first place. For an animal living on a strict energy budget, that's not a small sacrifice. They made it anyway. This isn't isolated to one species in one location either. Across completely different continents, researchers tracking large predators have found the same pattern. Lions in parts of Africa shift their movement away from regions with consistent human presence. Tigers in parts of Asia avoid territory close to villages, even when that territory would otherwise be ideal hunting ground. None of these animals are physically incapable of attacking humans. They're choosing not to, generation after generation, and the reason behind that choice is almost uncomfortable once you understand it. Humans have spent an extremely long time hunting the largest, most dangerous predators on the planet, and we've done it well enough that it actually changed their behavior at a genetic level. We're talking about a timeline that stretches back over 1 million years, long before recorded history, long before agriculture, long before anything resembling civilization. Entire massive species, animals far larger and more dangerous than anything alive today, disappeared not long after humans showed up in their territory. The predators that survived long enough to pass on their genes were overwhelmingly the ones that learned to keep their distance from us. The bold ones, the ones that approached without caution, got eliminated. Over thousands of generations, caution became instinct. It's not a decision modern predators are making consciously. It's something inherited, something baked in so deep it doesn't need a conscious thought behind it anymore. Now think about something you've probably never considered, how you actually smell to a predator. You're so used to your own scent and the scent of everyone around you that you've stopped noticing it entirely. But to an animal with a nose that can be tens of thousands of times more sensitive than yours, you are putting off an enormous, confusing cloud of information the second you lie down. Bears can detect scent at a level that puts most tracking dogs to shame. Wolves can pick up a smell from well over a mile away under the right wind conditions. Big cats have a specialized organ in the roof of their mouth that lets them analyze airborne chemical signals in a way we can't even fully picture. When one of these animals comes across a sleeping human, it's not getting a simple, clean scent. It's getting a flood of strange, artificial information. You smell like synthetic fabric. You smell like whatever you ate hours ago. You smell like soap, like sunscreen, like a dozen manufactured products that have no equivalent anywhere in nature. And underneath all of that, buried under everything modern, you smell like a primate, which means something to a predator, but not the right something. Not the deer or the antelope or the rabbit that its hunting instincts were built around recognizing across millions of years. A predator's hunting drive isn't a vague urge to attack anything that moves. It's a highly specific system, tuned to particular prey, particular movement, particular smell. You don't match the pattern. You're outside the system entirely. And for most predators, something outside the system isn't treated as an opportunity. It's treated as a reason to stay back. Then there's something humans figured out a very long time ago, almost by accident, that turned out to be one of the most effective defenses we've ever had. Fire. Across nearly every land animal that's ever been studied, fear of fire shows up as an automatic, built-in response. It's not something animals learn through experience. It's wired in from birth. Even animals raised in labs that have never been anywhere near an open flame will show clear avoidance behavior the moment they smell smoke. That kind of reaction doesn't come from individual learning. It comes from something much older, something carved into the species over an enormous stretch of time, because the animals that ran from fire in the wild survived it, and the ones that didn't simply didn't. Humans started using fire somewhere over 1 million years ago, and for almost that entire stretch of time, sleeping next to a fire has been the default. We probably weren't thinking about it scientifically, we just noticed it worked. A fire isn't just warmth and light. It sends a signal out into the darkness that something unusual, something that controls a force every animal is instinctively terrified of, is present. Predators picked up on that signal a very long time ago, and they've been picking up on it for so many generations that it doesn't even register as a conscious decision anymore. It's automatic. Avoidance first, questions never. Humans had this figured out before farming, before writing, before anything we'd normally think of as the foundation of civilization. Fire came first, and it's still doing its job. Now, let's clear up one of the biggest misconceptions movies have planted in everyone's head. Predators are not reckless. This matters more than people realize. The image of a giant cat or wolf as some fearless killing machine that attacks anything that crosses its path is pure fiction. In reality, large predators are extremely careful about what they choose to engage with because they have no other option. A wolf doesn't get sick leave. A lion doesn't have anyone to patch up a torn muscle or a broken jaw. One bad injury in the wild can mean a slow death from starvation weeks later, even if the injury itself wasn't immediately fatal. That means every single decision a predator makes is essentially a survival calculation running in the background. Is this worth the risk? Do I know how this thing behaves? Is there an easier option nearby? A sleeping human fails that calculation almost immediately. For one, you're unfamiliar. A predator is most confident attacking prey it already understands deeply, how it runs, how it panics, how it reacts when cornered. Humans don't fit any of those patterns. We might wake up instantly. We might be near tools. We might be near other humans who respond aggressively. That unpredictability alone is enough to make most predators back off. On top of that, there's the size factor. Standing upright, humans actually look larger and more imposing than most prey animals our size, and that posture alone reads as a threat display to a lot of wildlife, even while we're lying down. And finally, there's the simplest reason of all. Why bother? In any healthy ecosystem, there's almost always an easier, more familiar target nearby. Going after something strange and unpredictable when a deer or a rabbit is sitting right there just doesn't make sense from a risk standpoint. Here's something that almost never gets brought up in this conversation, and it's genuinely one of the most surprising parts of the whole picture. Your sleep isn't nearly as deep as you assume it is. Human sleep moves in cycles, dropping into deep stages and then rising back up into lighter ones throughout the night. And during those lighter stages, your brain stays far more alert to the outside world than people realize. Sounds still get processed. Anything unfamiliar is far more likely to break through into conscious awareness than something your brain already recognizes as safe. Researchers refer to this as a kind of sentinel function built into sleep itself. Even while resting, your nervous system keeps a partial watch running in the background, scanning for anything that doesn't fit the normal pattern. A branch snapping nearby, the heavy movement of something large nearby, a shift in smell that signals an animal approaching. These are exactly the kinds of signals that can pull a person out of sleep far faster than something familiar ever would. This isn't random. The humans throughout our history who slept too deeply, who stayed completely unresponsive through the night, no matter what happened around them, simply didn't make it as often. The lighter sleepers, the ones who could go from unconscious to fully alert in seconds, were the ones who survived long enough to pass that trait forward. Over an extremely long stretch of time, human sleep got tuned specifically to stay light enough to react. So even though you feel completely defenseless while you're out, you're actually running a quiet, partially active warning system the entire time you're asleep. There's also a factor that almost never crosses people's minds, and it's the fact that humans are rarely ever truly alone out there. We camp in groups, we sleep in groups, and predators understand group dynamics at a level most people don't give them credit for, mainly because their usual prey also lives in groups. A single animal at the edge of a herd is an easy target. The same animal in the center of that herd is a completely different story. Predators don't just look for prey, they look for separation, for the one that's isolated, the one that's fallen behind, the one cut off from everyone else. A group of sleeping humans doesn't offer that. It offers the opposite. One person waking up and making noise is almost guaranteed to wake up the rest, turning a quiet, controlled situation into something loud, chaotic, and completely unpredictable. For a predator trying to make a clean, low-risk move, that kind of unpredictability is exactly the outcome it's evolved to avoid. Now, to be fair, none of this means humans are completely untouchable, and leaving that out would make this whole video misleading. The attacks that do happen almost always follow the same pattern. Something has broken the normal rules. A predator that's injured and can no longer hunt its usual prey. A predator whose habitat has been destroyed, cutting off its normal food source. An animal that's had so much exposure to humans that it's lost the inherited wariness that used to keep it at a distance, which can happen disturbingly fast once an animal starts associating people with easy food instead of danger. One of the most well-documented cases involves a tiger in early 1900s, India and Nepal, blamed for hundreds of deaths over several years. When the animal was eventually tracked down, hunters found it had suffered serious damage to its teeth, almost certainly from an old gunshot wound, leaving it unable to hunt the prey it would normally go after. It had been pushed by injury, and later by the loss of its natural habitat, into targeting the only food source still within reach. Cases like this repeat throughout history. Something breaks. The normal calculation changes. The instinct that usually keeps these animals away gets overridden by desperation, which means the pattern holds almost universally in situations where the ecosystem is intact, the animal is healthy, and humans haven't done something to scramble the signals, like leaving food out in the open or removing the one thing predators have feared for over 1 million years: fire. There's one more layer to this, And it's genuinely the strangest part of the entire story. We've become so effective at making the natural world afraid of us that it started causing problems nobody really planned for. That same research on mountain lions didn't just show that these animals avoid humans. It showed that this fear spreads through the entire surrounding ecosystem in ways that are difficult to fully control. When large predators pull back from areas with consistent human activity, the prey animals in those zones face far less pressure from hunting. Their numbers grow. That growth puts more strain on the surrounding vegetation than the ecosystem is built to handle. At the same time, smaller predators also tend to avoid areas close to humans, which means the smaller animals they would normally keep in check start multiplying as well. One shift leads to another, and eventually almost every layer of that ecosystem is being shaped indirectly by a fear that has nothing to do with anything we're actively doing in the moment. We're not hunting these animals constantly anymore. We don't have to. The fear we built into their instincts over more than 1 million years is still doing all the work on its own, rippling outward through an entire food web just because we exist in the area. The most dangerous thing in that forest isn't the wolf, the bear, or the big cat circling somewhere out in the dark. It's the species that figured out fire before it figured out almost anything else. The species that's been quietly shaping the instincts of every predator on the planet for over 1 million years without most of them ever needing to see it happen directly. That's you. That's what you actually are out there. So the next time you're lying in a sleeping bag in the middle of nowhere, listening to every sound coming from beyond the thin wall of your tent, and that old, uneasy feeling creeps in, that's fine. That feeling kept your ancestors alive long before you were ever born. But whatever's moving around out there in the dark, it already knows better than to come any closer.